This one simple daily habit rebuilt muscle in seniors, even in their 80s. Walter's turning point, from strength to stillness. Walter Jenkins once moved like a locomotive, steady, strong, and impossible to stop. A former wrestling coach and Navy veteran, Walter was the man everyone called when they needed a hand. Fixing a roof, moving a fridge, lifting a child. He had muscles that came from decades of labor, discipline, and love. But at 74, the man who once lifted others could barely lift himself. His knees groaned every morning. His hands trembled holding coffee. A short walk to the mailbox left him winded. More than the physical pain, it was the humiliation that wore him down. The quiet fear that his body had betrayed him for good. Then one morning, something happened that he wouldn't forget. Walter dropped a plate in the kitchen, not because it was heavy, but because his fingers simply gave out. He stood frozen, staring at the shattered dish, then slowly knelt to pick up the pieces. As he pushed himself back up, he needed both hands on the counter, and it hit him. He could no longer trust his own strength. That night, his daughter Angela, visiting for the weekend, saw the bandage on his finger and gently said, "Dad, we need to talk about your strength." She wasn't lecturing him. She was a nurse who had just returned from a geriatric care conference where a session on muscle loss in seniors left her shaken. One of the speakers said something she would never forget. If seniors don't move their muscles every single day, their bodies stop listening to them altogether. Angela gave Walter a simple challenge. Just try one new habit. Not a gym program, not a diet overhaul, just one small thing every day. The beginning of a daily tune-up. Walter agreed, begrudgingly at first. She handed him a resistance band and showed him how to do gentle bicep curls while seated. 10 reps, then a few slow leg raises, then a press against the wall. No pain, no sweat, just movement. Day by day, that habit took root. Walter started calling it his daily tune-up. 10 minutes in the morning, a few minutes at night. No matter what, he showed up. And over the next 6 months, Walter transformed, not just physically, but emotionally. He no longer needed the cane. He began walking laps around the block. He opened jars without wincing. And perhaps most symbolic of all, he replaced the broken plate himself, without help, without fear. The hidden epidemic of muscle loss. Walter's story is more common than most realize. After age 50, the average person loses 1 to 2% of muscle mass every year. That may not sound like much, but by the time someone reaches their 70s or 80s, they may have lost up to 30 to 40% of their muscle mass. This process is called sarcopenia, and it's not just about frailty, it's about survival. Muscle is essential for more than lifting. It supports your joints, fuels your metabolism, protects your bones, powers your lungs, and stabilizes your balance. When muscle vanishes, so does independence. Falls become more likely. Recovery from illness slows. The ability to carry groceries, get off the toilet, or step into the shower becomes a daily struggle. Why the body responds to resistance, even in old age. Yet this process is not irreversible. What science has uncovered, especially over the past 20 years, is that muscle tissue remains trainable into advanced age. Even in seniors as old as 90, resistance-based movement has been shown to increase muscle size, strength, and function. It just requires one thing: daily activation. Micro-resistance is not weightlifting. It's not strenuous boot camps or intense cardio. It's a small, focused form of strength training, using light tension to stimulate the muscles. Think of it like whispering to your muscles each day, reminding them, you still have work to do. This can look like pushing your hands against a wall for a few seconds, doing leg lifts while seated in a chair, pulling a resistance band while watching TV, or standing on one foot while holding the back of a couch. These aren't exercises meant to exhaust. They're meant to awaken. Your body is wired to respond to demand. If you sit all day, it learns to support stillness. If you challenge it with movement, it responds by building. The goal isn't soreness, it's signal. You're sending a clear message to your muscles. Stay alive, stay strong. Walter didn't start by doing 50 squats. He started by flexing his toes and ankles for 5 minutes each morning. That was enough. Enough to activate blood flow. Enough to begin reconnecting muscle memory. Enough to rebuild from the inside out. Why daily works when everything else fails. Many seniors avoid exercise programs because they seem intimidating, too painful, or downright dangerous. Gym machines, heavy dumbbells, and fast-paced routines can do more harm than good. Even walking can be unsafe if the legs and hips are unstable. Micro-resistance removes all those risks. It's done in place on your own terms, using everyday household items or your own body weight. And because it's gentle, it can be repeated daily, building consistency, confidence, and long-term results. It becomes a habit like brushing your teeth. Science backs this up. In a study published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity, researchers found that seniors who performed light resistance movements for 10 minutes daily improved their muscle strength, balance, and walking speed without ever setting foot in a gym. Even participants who started out using a walker saw measurable improvements. The consistency, not the intensity, is what rewires the body. The confidence to move through life again. One of the most profound shifts that occurs with this habit isn't just physical, it's emotional. Seniors who engage in daily resistance routines report a renewed sense of control. For many, it feels like a fog has lifted. The shame of depending on others fades. The dread of being too old to matter disappears. In its place comes pride, energy, and even curiosity. Some begin gardening again. Others rejoin social groups. Some even travel. Walter eventually began attending his church's community fitness class, not because he needed it, but because he wanted to share what he'd learned. He became something he hadn't been in years, an example. His story now spreads beyond his neighborhood. Angela, his daughter, teaches micro-resistance to her patients across the city, urging them to believe in the one thing most doctors never say: you're not done. Your muscles haven't given up. They're just waiting for the signal. How to begin, even if you feel too weak. If you've never exercised or haven't moved much in years, don't panic. This habit was made for you. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to sweat. You need one thing: 5 to 10 minutes each day where you move with intention. Focus on the muscles that feel forgotten. Stretch your arms above your head. Press your hands into a wall. March in place while seated. Slowly stand from your chair and sit again. Let your body remember what it was built for: movement, not stillness. You don't have to wait for permission. You just have to begin. Because the truth is, you don't lose strength because you age. You lose it because you stop asking your body to be strong. And once you ask again, daily, patiently, it will surprise you. Walter Jenkins didn't think he'd ever feel powerful again. Now he's the one holding the ladder for his grandson. Medical disclaimer: this article is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before beginning any new exercise program, especially if you have a chronic condition, history of injury, or mobility limitations. The examples provided are based on personal stories and general scientific research and may not reflect every individual's experience. Do not ignore medical advice or delay seeking it because of something you have read here. Viewer discretion is advised.